Hi, and welcome to another episode of Altcoin Buzz. I am your host, Frank, and today we're going to go over a range of issues. One is now a good time to buy Bitcoin? Could this be a false breakout? Is there going to be an alt season? We're going to use a whole range of charts going from this Bitcoin chart, the hash rate, using the hash ribbons indicator, checking out ETH Bitcoin, looking at Bitcoin dominance, and finally taking a quick look at the SPX. So the main chart that everyone's going to be looking at is, of course, Bitcoin. And by the way, guys, this is BLX. This stands for Brave New Coin Liquid Index. And this is a great way to look at the overall volume for Bitcoin. They aggregate the exchange volume from a number of different exchanges to get a more normalized, better average of the real volume. So what we can see here is, well, obviously we've broken 10K guys, right? This is awesome because, you know, we were consolidating here for a while, and it was just a matter of, do we break bearish or do we break bullish? And everyone is saying, well, at least the technical analysts are saying, if we break bullish, then we're going to see another big move to the upside. And if we break bearish, we're going to see a big move to the downside. It's not going to go sideways. So the real question is, have we officially broken bullish? And to do that, we have to go on the lower time frames. But before I delve into that, let's first of all look at the bigger time frame, because the longer time frames are always the first thing you want to look at, especially when considering big moves or notable moves. So the thing which still stands out like a sore thumb is this resistance at 10,500. I usually draw my resistances in red. And the interesting thing here is that if we had all these green candles coming up to here, I would be much more wary of this resistance. Why? Because if you just have one big move with no consolidation, then that means that there's no real support on the way up. See? So for example, if we look at just these candles over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 candles. If we had had 8 green candles, 9 green candles, and we were here, it would be more scary because we didn't find support. But what happened here was we spent 4 weeks in this zone, meaning that we have found an important support, especially at this level, $8,700 for weekly closes. And that means that now we're coming to test this after having taken a break, after having taken a breather, right? And also after having established that this is a zone of interest, a zone of support. So that means that even if we do resist from here and we come back down here, we could find support again and move back up. Whereas if we had just had one big move up without any support, then there would be a much higher risk for having a bigger move down. Okay, so we got that out the way. So in conclusion, yes, this is an important resistance, but we're close to it, meaning that we might break out from it, and we have a consolidation near the resistance, which is a good bullish sign. Furthermore, on the weekly, we can see that this 200 EMA, in fact, if you look at it from the moving averages, you will see that the 200, this isn't 200 EMA, but the 200 moving averages display this support better. Here you can see that the weekly closed at the 200. Again, we closed here, we found support, and now we are over here. Now, in order to look for the trend, it's better to look at the EMAs. I personally prefer the EMAs, which stand for the exponential moving average, and they put a larger emphasis on recent price action as opposed to price action further back. Okay, so what can we see here? We can see something very sexy here, guys. What is that? That is, look at all these pretty colors. Now, not only are they pretty, but they're pretty in the right order. What do I mean by that? I mean that the blue one here is the 200. The green is the 100 EMA. The yellow is the 55. The orange is the 21. And the pink, I'm kind of colorblind, I think it's pink, is the 10. And what's so sexy about this is that when the 10 is above the 20 is above the 55 is above the 100, and the 100 is above the 200, we are what's called fanning out. These moving averages are fanning out. We're seeing space between them, and more importantly, the smaller, lower moving averages are above the higher moving averages. Now, if you look back to here, you can see that when this happened in the past, the 10 above the 21, 21 above the 50, 50 above the 100, blah, 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 you get the idea. we saw a further move up. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't always mean that we will get a further move up. As you can see from here, when we crossed over, we did actually, to be fair, we did see a 12% move from this crossover. However, we came down again. Still, this is a good sign because it means that there is bullish momentum. Now, what could be very exciting is if we continue up a little bit more, come back down, find support, and then move up again, because that will be the most bullish thing that you can imagine for Bitcoin. So the first bullish thing for Bitcoin will be to break 10.5K. The second bullish thing will be to have a move up and then come down and find support, okay? And then the third bullish thing will be if that support then leads to a further high. Why? Because then we will have a pattern like this. So it goes up. Let's say it goes up. Let's hope that it goes up a bit higher, like let's say 12K. And then it comes down. Maybe it comes down back to 8K. And then this point over here is where it gets very, very sexy, guys. This is very sexy because this is what you call an uptrend, okay? So we have an uptrend on the daily chart, but the weekly chart, we just have this nice big move up without a confirmed uptrend. This is just one leg which could go either way. We could go up there and then come down and just crash and come all the way down here. I don't think that's very likely, but the point I'm trying to make is that from a technical perspective, we are not yet in an uptrend on the weekly chart. And for that to happen, we would have to have a move up here, come down and find support, and then move up. This would be a sort of a mature, established uptrend. Okay, now coming down to the daily time frame, we can see again this area of consolidation, which is very sexy, guys, because this means that if Bitcoin comes down, we found support here. Look at these big ass green, yellow and blue lines. This means that there's a lot of interest at this price range. Essentially what this means is that, think of it as a fight. There's two guys fighting. The bulls are fighting, the bears are pushing them right back, the bulls are fighting again, the bears are taking them right down, and then the bulls are fighting, and now the bulls have finally reigned victorious. So the fact that we have a daily close above this area of liquidity is a sign that the bulls have been fighting the bears a long time and now they finally won. Okay, so we're not completely out of the woods yet, but in the sense that we still have the 10.5K resistance. However, this is very notable. Breaking out of here bullish, I think is a very, very bullish, is a very good sign that we are potentially going to go on a new bull run. We don't have all the information, all the indicators that we require for a new bull run, but it is definitely a good sign. And look at these moving averages over here. Let me get rid of this. Again, the 10 above the 21, they're all fanning out. And we recently had the 100 go above the 200. So it's a really great sign that we are potentially going to see another big move up. Another thing which is bullish is that the hash rates are recovering. So as you can see from this chart at the very end here, we had this big dip in hash rate. Let me put it down to 1 year. We had a big dip in hash rate here, and now the hash rate is already recovering. And I'll show you another indicator which indicates this as well. So this other indicator is the hash ribbons indicator. I've actually written a whole article about the minor capitulation effect on Bitcoin price. This is an indicator created by Charles Edwards. Thanks very much to him. We have this fantastic indicator which in the past has led to amazing buy signals. As you can see here, an average drawdown of just 9.1% with a whopping 5,520% gain. And that is when the buy signal appears. Now, we don't yet have that buy signal. That buy signal would have been, for example, here. So, first of all, it's a bullish sign that we had it already there. However, now we might see it yet again. The thing is, first of all, we are still in this capitulation period. Although you may find several articles talking about this, you won't find any which talk about what happens to Bitcoin price during the minor capitulation period, which is where we are now. So if you want to check that out, you can read the whole article. I've done a whole analysis with a whole bunch of charts. But to sum it up for you guys, we are now in the middle of a capitulation period, which has seen volatile price action. It's not a sign that we are going to go bullish or bearish, However, this green circle over here suggests that this minor capitulation period is slowly but surely coming to an end, and we will always have a buy signal which occurs at the end of this capitulation period. And the fact of the matter is that this has led to insane gains before, and it's happened 10 times in the past. So it's not a huge sample size, but considering that Bitcoin is only 11 years old, it's one of the best sample sizes that you're going to get for very big moves. The next thing we can do is to look at the MACD and the RSI. So the RSI is looking a little bit neutral here, in the sense that we've been ranging between 67 and 45, and that we haven't actually crossed important previous highs here of 65. We're actually still at the same level. It's really not telling us too much. We would really want to see this make a higher high for this to give us any information. The fact that we're at a double top here is not telling us too much. It's neither bearish nor bullish. However, what you will often find in a bullish market on the RSI is a range between 40 and above. So you can see that we've held this 40 support pretty nicely. This is 37, pretty much since here. 37, we found support, 45, here at 47 again, here at 46 again. So this is a good sign that we are entering a bullish market. And certainly on the daily chart, it's been pretty clear that we've been in an uptrend here, which hasn't been broken in any significant way. We did see some weakness here, but this ended up just being a consolidation with higher lows. Okay, so we had a low over here at this point, and then we had another higher low over here, and lower highs. So we had a high over here and a lower high. And what this means is that the price is consolidating. Again, it's like the bulls and the bears are fighting it out, but now we have a decisive move up. Now, the issue about this candle, which makes me a little bit wary, is the volume. The volume is okay, but we don't have a real strong push in volume yet. We're just touching on the moving average of this volume, which is okay, it's good, but it's not great. What I would ideally like to see is it being clearly above the moving average of the volume, and right now we don't have that. However, it's entirely possible that we come down, find support, and move back up. In fact, that would be one of the healthiest forms of price movement, because it wouldn't be this sort of exponential craziness. It would be, well, we've broken out, we've come back down, the bulls have another chance to prove themselves, and then they prove themselves, and then they come right back up again. That would be a stable, composed, bullish move up, which is really what we're looking for here. Looking at the MACD, we can see that the 12 moving average is crossing over the 26. Of course, this is a bullish sign, and we are having a steady uptick over here. We've crossed the zero line with already 2 upticks. This day, of course, has not closed yet, far from it. However, we already have an uptick here going in the right direction, so certainly nothing bearish at all about the daily RSI or the MACD, and certainly not the price action. Let's now go down to the 4-hour chart. So again, here you can see a clear uptrend based on these moving averages, which are fanning out, where the lower moving averages are above the higher moving averages. And the cool thing about this is that here you see the kind of volume which I would want to see to determine with certainty that we have a breakout. There's a clear move above the 21 average, and there's still a lot of interest right now. Although this is a bearish candle, it still represents the bulls and the bears fighting it out. And if we can see a few more of these red candles coming down here with significant volume, and then we find support, this will all translate into a lot of volume on the daily candle. Okay, so it's all a good sign so far. So is now a good time to buy Bitcoin? Well, let's have a look at a few more indicators before we do this. First of all, I want to show you the Bitcoin dominance chart. Now, this is a chart which tracks how dominant Bitcoin is over all the other altcoins in the market. You can see that there's a total of 7,622 coins. And while the analysis of how they determine the market cap of altcoins is not always entirely accurate, this is nevertheless a chart which a lot of technical analysts are looking at, and which has a good way of showing you how bullish the market is. What do I mean by that? I mean that if more people are buying alts than they are buying Bitcoin, that means that they're willing to take on more risk, which means that they're more optimistic, which means that they're more willing to also buy Bitcoin in addition to the alts, and just generally bring the market up. And what we can see here is two very interesting previous data points, and that is this bearish engulfing candle, which we saw here, which means that the price action of this red candle has completely taken over the price action of the candle prior to it. And here we saw the same thing happen. And what happened here? We saw a big dump in the Bitcoin dominance, okay? We went from 62%, well, I mean, the high here was at 67%, all the way down to 32%, which is huge. So this represented a huge bull market back in December. It was between December and January of December 2017 and January 2018. So it's entirely possible that now that we have a bearish engulfing candle, that we see further move down. I'm not saying that we're going to come all the way down to 32%, but certainly this is a sign that the altcoins have a strong potential for having a further move down here. Furthermore, we can see that Bitcoin dominance, back in the day when there were very few alts, Bitcoin was all the rage, and it was in this 77 to 99, of course, percent region for a long time. However, we came down and found support around the 77%. I mean, it's up for debate exactly where you draw this line. Therefore, it might be better to draw it as a zone here, okay? So we found support at this 77% mark. And then we broke through it with a hell of a lot of strength. And we came back, we didn't even get close to it. And now, look at this. This candle over here came to this zone and rejected from it. So that's no surprise, because we found support there several times. And I think that it's very unlikely that Bitcoin will break above 77% dominance pretty much ever, if you ask me. I think that there's too much strength in the altcoin market. There's too much interest in it. And as soon as people are interested in Bitcoin, they're interested even more in altcoins. And there's so much development happening in the altcoin space. That's why I'm so excited to be working with Altcoin Buzz, because it gives me an opportunity to learn more about the altcoin development. In any case, as mentioned, we have two instances of a bearish engulfing candle here on the weekly chart. So again, this is a big time frame here, and that led to a big dump, and now we're seeing the same thing, which could potentially lead to a big dump as well. Again, I don't think it's likely we come all the way down to 32% immediately. I think there will be a lot of more back and forth before that happens, but this is certainly a bullish sign for the alts. Another way to look at how alts are doing versus Bitcoin is to look at the biggest altcoin, which is Ethereum, and compare that to Bitcoin. Here on the weekly time frame, we can see that really there is no strong indication that the alts are coming back yet. We've had these lower lows on the weekly. However, we do have this consolidation over here. It is entirely possible that after this consolidation, we have a move up. Now, if we zoom into this consolidation, we can see that Ethereum is currently at the top of this triangle. And so it's entirely possible that the Ethereum dominance over Bitcoin goes down about 10%. For example, it's quite possible that Bitcoin rallies to 14, 15K, while Ethereum sort of stays more or less stable or just goes up a smaller amount, and that would bring this down. So for example, at this chart could go down to here, 0.022. Bitcoin could be at 15K, and Ethereum could be, at $270 or something, right? So it doesn't mean that Ethereum's value is going to go down, but relative to Bitcoin, it could go down. And then possibly after Bitcoin has established huge, strong move and that we're in for a new potential bull market, then we might see the altcoin investors come back in full force and break out of this bullish to the upside. That's, of course, a speculation, but what is very likely is that we're going to see some movement once we come out of this consolidating zone, in a very similar way that we are now seeing movement in Bitcoin since it came out of its consolidating zone. So in conclusion, is now a good time to buy Bitcoin? If you're an aggressive trader or investor, I would say yes, because we have a breakout in the 4-hour candle with volume. If you're more conservative, you would wait for it to come down to approximately between a 0.5 and a 786 correction, which is between between 10K and 9.75K, and buy there. If you're very conservative, you would wait for it to come back there and bounce again, which would translate into not one but 2 daily candles closing above $10,000. Do we have an alt season? Not yet. There are strong signs that it may be starting, but we need to wait for confirmation on the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, as well as the Bitcoin dominance chart, which is showing signs of moving towards alts, but hasn't yet confirmed it. Finally, could this be a false breakout? It is possible that we still come all the way down here, and that would actually be very bearish, especially if we get down below sort of 9.4K and start coming down. That would show this is a false breakout. But right now, the odds are certainly in favor of the bulls because of the 4-hour volume and because of the strong possibility that we find support even if we come down to 9.8K-ish type of levels. That's it from me. Let me know what you thought of this video. I know it was a much longer video than usual, but I think some of you might appreciate that there is a lot more that goes into finding out whether or not to buy Bitcoin than a yes or no answer. And I hope some of you appreciated the analysis. Let me know in the comments below. Did you like it? Was it a bit too long? Were there other things you would have liked me to cover? Anything you don't understand? I'm really happy to connect and communicate with you guys. I reply in the comments every time. All right. See you in the next one, guys. Bye.